On Friday, the nation witnessed a celebration of our 69th Independence Day. According to Government Communication Minister, the cost of putting together that event was in the region of about 1 million, 1.5 million Ghana cedis. Now, for that particular celebration, we've heard many stories, reports, comments, or the speech from His Excellency, the President John Dramani Mahama, key amongst calling for a new vision, a reset of values, and of course, calling on us to be one another's keeper. But other concerns have arisen as to whether, after 69 years of independence, we are truly where we ought to be as a country. Promise, progress, missed opportunities is a question I'll be asking my panelists, but you also watching us right now can share your comments, you can share your views on this particular conversation. I'll go on to introduce my guest. Sitting right very close to me is Elvis Daku. He is the editor of the News Center newspaper. Elvis, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you are well.
By God's grace.
Did you have a restful weekend?
I think this weekend was restful because Friday at least was a public holiday. But that Friday I had some family funeral in Accra, so I was busy. But then the Saturday was
much calm.
Was
but for we journalists, even if it's a holiday, and considering the occasion, I'm sure you were still very busy.
But because my paper is not coming out on Saturday, so I wasn't that busy because I'm a print media house. If it were like, but we're doing some few things online, but that's not much of pressure. But assuming the day was on a Tuesday and I'm coming out on a Wednesday, that means that Tuesday was. We are working online. I should also be working on the paper so that the pressure becomes higher. So that's one. That's the advantage of newspapers sometimes when the holiday falls on certain days.
Yeah.
Friday, I'm not coming out on Saturday.
So the new ministry, the new directive from the Ministry of Interior pushing holidays to the Fridays, I'm sure it was just perfect for you.
No, I have always said that, to encourage productivity, there are certain things we should not just be strict by law. I believe that when a holiday falls in the middle of the week, it distracts everybody. So this idea that if we can push it to Friday, I've always been for it, that is the best thing to do. So that if I know that Monday to Friday I psych myself that I'm working, then when Friday is a holiday, so be it.
You're good to go.
Yeah, but then I go to the holiday on a Wednesday
or on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday. And then whilst you are at the holiday, you are thinking about work for the following day.
Thank you so much, Elvis, and welcome on the show. You're looking hale and hearty, by the way.
Thank God.
Mr. Ibrahim Ejay, who is the Resident Country Director for International Investment, LLC, a regular panel on the show, needs no further introduction. Ibrahim, always a pleasure having you. Good morning.
A very good morning to you, Jude.
How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God Almighty. And yourself, Jude?
I'm doing amazing.
So you always ask us, we have to reciprocate. And I know.
I'm thriving by the grace of God.
Amen.
You walked in the studio with a lot of energy.
Amen.
And I'm not sure where this is coming from. So I'll start off the conversation with you.
Sure.
69 years of nationhood.
Yeah.
Right. The question is, have we reached or are we on the path of where we ought to be in terms of our development, in terms of even the soft issues like our values, right? A lot of the time we are quick to point out to, well, there are water challenges here, other development, roads, all of those. But even with the very soft issues like our affection for one another, integrity among public officials especially, what is your initial remarks on our 69 years of nationhood?
Thank you. And once again, a good morning to you, Elvis, and our viewers and listeners on Channel One. I think holistically, seeing where we started from in 1957, 6 March, when Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, declared that, your beloved country, Ghana, is free forever. There was much optimism for our future, both economically, socially, and globally, because, we are indeed the standard bearer for Africa's independence move. And so there's a lot of hope invested within Ghana and outside of Ghana as well. So have we actually achieved much that we wanted to? The answer is no, but let me qualify the no. We should never be satisfied. I think if those in 1957 saw us now, they would say, wow, you guys collectively have achieved a lot. But have we, as your school teacher would say, has he performed below expectations? That's the essence of my no. Ghana has a fantastic future ahead of us. I firmly believe that. Yes, we've had the interventions, the coups d'etats, I think just dragged us back decades. And it's not to say that that was our own doing. You know, again, with the release of CI documents, both within the US and, of course, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, I'm talking the United Kingdom, we can see certain actors who were against Africa's push for the dynamic economy and society that we wanted. But have we achieved a lot? I would say so, yes. Because you can remove the coups d'etats that truncated our development. And not just us, it became a domino effect. After Kwame Nkrumah, then you saw a whole slew of coups d'etats happening. But let's stick on Ghana. What have we achieved in terms of education? What have we achieved in terms of industry? What have we achieved in terms of that adding value, being a voice or an authority, both within the African continent? I think Ghana has a lot to be thankful for, because over the decades, we have sought to push the envelope in terms of our development, our advancement, and our transformation. And one thing I would want to commend all Ghanaians for, that notwithstanding the economic difficulties that the decades, the last 69 years have given us, we are indeed a singular nation. The way in which we relate to each other, because sometimes it's not all about the money. It's not all about the macro, the statistics. How are we as a nation developing and relating to each other? These are some of the intangible developments, transformation that is not quite captured in a statistical survey.
You feel we are more tolerant of each other?
Yes, definitely so. And again, let's give credit to Kwame Nkrumah for that, because historians will tell you that that legacy of making sure that, again, within the educational system, everybody, whether you're from Hamile, whether you're from Teshi, whether you're from Pando or Gushegu, that boarding school system helped to create fraternity amongst the youth then, and they then transmitted that oneness of Ghana to us. And you saw that even within the political arena, you know, in terms of how different tribes of different religions came together, though within a legal framework, because to stand as a political party, you must not be tribal or regional in your construct. And then you had, again, within the UP tradition, all of those forces coming together. Anglo, is it? The Anglo youth from Volta. Is it? Shifimo was there. Then, of course, you had the Akan elements also inside. You had Fanti. And that created a sense of purpose, a sense of indivisibility. You didn't see each other as, oh, Eje Teshi, Alo, he's from Kumasi. The political arena really made sure that we saw each other as one people.
Interesting.
And I think that's a development that is often missed when we're assessing how far we have come.
I'll come back to you on the issues around how sometimes certain elements of our democracy, particularly elections, you know, become avenues for a lot of vitriol, a lot of, you know, we see some of the dark parts or side of this country when our elections are at play, right? Politicians held all sorts of words. I'm not sure that can be construed to, you know, suggest a nation that is at peace or very tolerant of itself. So I'll come back to you to just tidy up that, you know, little diversion for us. But Elvis, 69 years of independence. I'm looking at an Afrobarometer report, right? And, you know, year on year, this is around 10 survey, but was released for 2024, but was released in 2025. You know, democracy or the extent of satisfaction with the country's democracy from 2014 up until 2022 was in that kind of steep decline. So the question is, what are the gains, if any, and have there been any missed opportunities with regards to what you could have been as a nation 69 years on?
Well, 69 years on, I will not just do a generalized assessment. I will look at it from various perspectives. Yes, if we are looking at our state of development and we compare to the advanced countries, obviously we will say we have failed. If we are looking at the current state of development and we are looking at the Asian tigers, many of whom we started with in terms of independence in around the same time, we can say we have failed because the Asian tigers were just like us at independence. But where they are today, we are nowhere close to them. So that one, we can say completely that we have failed.
So like the Malaysia, the Singapore,
the South Korea, the China and the rest, they've done so well. Taiwan and the rest, they've done so well if you look at their state of development today compared to ours. In that case, we can say we haven't done well because we as a country, Ghana, we have been endowed with so many natural resources that some of these countries don't even have. Ghana has crude oil. Ghana has cocoa. Ghana has bauxite. Ghana has diamond. Ghana has gold. Ghana has lithium. And on and on and on we go. Ask yourself, which single country in the world has all these things in one country? So if we look at the blessings God bless us with natural resources, and you compare to the Asian tigers, which do not even boast of more than 2 natural resources per country, and what they have achieved, you can say that we have really failed.
Is that a failure on the political leadership?
We are talking about Ghana, so it's not about political leadership alone. It's always about
but
leadership.
the citizens do not manage these resources you are talking about.
Yeah, the people who lead are citizens before they are voted into power or before they take over power. So they are Ghanaians. Okay, so on that note, you say we have failed. But you see, if you look at it from the sub-region that we live in, you can say that comparatively in the sub-region, we are not doing badly. Because if you look at the sub-region in which we live, if you have traveled the sub-region, then you can appreciate that though we are not like the Asian tigers, we are not like the Western countries, we have also made some progress. Which country in the sub-region has a Terminal 3 like we have? Their airport can be compared to Terminal 3. You can't find one. If you look at how we have managed to extend electricity to rural Ghana, how many of the countries in the sub-region have been able to achieve that?
I have friends who travel to Cote d'Ivoire, for example, and say that they have better infrastructure than us.
In what terms?
In terms of roads.
To where? You see, sometimes we go to the capitals. Yes, I went to Cote d'Ivoire and I drove on some of the roads, Abidjan. Yes, the roads are wider. It's like 3 lanes going, 3 lanes coming and all that. Yeah. But what if you move beyond the capital and you have to go to the interior? Okay. If you go to the interior of the country, do they also have the roads? Third roads in Ghana have gone to very, very remote areas. In certain places that you go, you don't even expect a third road, and the third road is there. Is that the situation in Cote d'Ivoire and other places you talk about? Even the standard of living in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire is more expensive than Ghana. Many people don't know that the standard of living in Cote d'Ivoire is more expensive than Ghana. So sometimes when we have not traveled the sub-region, we would think that we are not doing anything. Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa. Nigeria produces about 2 million barrels of oil a day. But when you compare development in terms of infrastructure in Ghana and Nigeria, obviously you can say that Ghana is doing so many things that Nigerians don't do it.
So it's a balanced
in terms of the assessment we are doing, I don't like it when we just look at the Western countries and compare ourselves. The Western countries started many, many years ago before us. And know that when we were enslaved, a lot of opportunities were taken away from us. But as I said, if the Asian tigers have been able to make it within 30 to 40 years to achieve this level of development, infrastructure-wise, then we have no excuse if we have 69 years and we have not been able to get to their level. We have no excuse when we have so many natural resources that these countries do not have, that they are able to get it that way. So we really have failures. But we must also understand that even if today the blacks in America still don't feel free, then you really appreciate the fact that Ghana did well by obtaining independence at the time. Because
Are non-aligned.
when you are under the control of certain forces, you know the difficulty in so many things. So our great-grandfathers who fought for independence, we need to applaud them. We need to make sure that everybody who fought for independence is celebrated. The fact that we fought and achieved independence is a great achievement. So in terms of that, we must be glad. If you look at even the democracy and the political growth, we say that our democracy has issues. It's true. But how can we say democracy of America 200 years in other places? We can't compare. But even there are things that happens even in Ghana that even if you do it in some of these Western countries, you will not have it easy. You will not find it free.
So America,
in Ghana,
with all its power, they also have their faults.
Look, Google and find out how many people have been arrested in the U.S. For free speech violation, for saying things or posting things on
Even
social media.
recently with this whole ICE crackdown, citizens being killed.
A lot is happening somewhere, but it appears we don't have a lot of information to realize that, Ghana, we have our problem. But here and here and here, I think that I'm far better off in Ghana than in other places. So I'm saying that, look, if we look at the general picture of, we are looking at where the Western countries are, we have failed. If we look at the Asian tigers, that we all had independence around the same time, we are more endowed in terms of natural resources compared to them. And therefore, we have really managed our country very well, especially if we have looked at the natural resource as a growth pool, and we really took advantage and say that this is what God has given us and want to manage it well to develop. We would have been even ahead of the Asian tigers. We didn't do that, so we have failed.
I like
but
the
then
way
for the West African sub-region, if we look at the situation, we can say we are not doing badly because there are certain things here that. Why do you think that our neighbors are all flocking to our country?
Well,
why do you think that if you go to our universities now, there are a lot of foreign students from neighboring countries schooling in Ghana? We say our standard of education is not good. We don't like it. We complain about it. But if we say it's not good, but others around us still say that ours is still better than theirs and they are coming, it tells you a certain story. So we should have some positives in the narrative. When we just condemn ourselves and everything is negative, negative does not bring anything. So let's be a bit analytical about the situation. And then when we see the hopes, the few light, let's build on it and do better.
Amazing. Ibrahim, I'll come back to you. And of course, Wanda Kuto has joined us, the National Executive Committee, National Democratic Congress. Thank you. I'll come back to you. I'll come to you pretty shortly. But Ibrahim, I like the tangent on which you took us, telling us that it's not all gloom. We've made some progress in terms of the soft issues. You talk about our tolerance level. But I want to come back to you because I witnessed, for example, the MPP's most recent election. Right, we hear the vitriol, we hear the insults, we hear the attacks. I felt that, and in fact, some other civil society have said certain lines were crossed. You get it. So, do you guys as politicians, have to take some blame with regards to how sometimes the narrative is, in terms of how we conduct ourselves, the choice of words, that sometimes inflame emotions, and now people resort to all sorts of things.
Yeah, we have to take responsibility. But let me explain to you why I don't say the blame. Go to any WhatsApp group or any Facebook post outside of elections, whether it's MPP or NDC, and see the kind of vitriol Ghanaians are exchanging amongst ourselves when there's no election. And there can be also issues that are not politically anchored, but see the kind of vitriol that we do. So to somehow frame it that there's an election, and indeed, the choice of words by some aspirants is unfortunate, but that is authentic politics. My fingers are not the same. And so what we have to understand is that it's not the commentary, but how the general, since you're mentioning MPP, how the general party responded to that commentary. And I have to say that I want to commend every single person in the NPP, because the way and manner in which we spoke with one voice against the few individuals that indeed crossed that red line in terms of some kind of, let's say, religious bigotry that came out, that gave me much enthusiasm that yes, this is the party that seeks to really make sure that we not only look like Ghana, but we represent Ghana, and our vision is one and unified. You know, and I'm anchoring my response directly on what you're saying, that it's not about us taking the blame, we the politicians, but we have to take responsibility. And within that ecosystem of addressing, you know, political conversations that are unpalatable, it's how you address it that shows you how mature the politicians are and the people supporting that political party or infrastructure. And again, I'm repeating that what we exhibited was Ghanaians saying these are individual comments and we do not subscribe to that. And I'm talking specifically about the way and the manner in which Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, you know, as a statesman, held his tongue, held his responses, and focused on his message, and the message won over the commentary. And that is something that we all have to emulate. To be a leader is not easy. What political, Jude, what political environment is devoid of excesses? I mean, can you imagine the thing, I'm just using it as a comparison in terms of what Donald Trump has been saying in terms of America. Then I can come to
the 2008 election,
yeah.
You know, between, for example, even Mills and Nikufado, we didn't see that much vitriol. And you mentioned America, and I'm sure you've been following their politics. McCain and Obama, many have said it was one of the most, you know, cordial, decent elections. Even Obama and Mitt Romney, you know, so they've shown us in the past that they are capable, even though recent experiences suggest otherwise.
Sure, and it's all about the individual, because you mentioned statesmen in terms of the personalities you mentioned, Mitt Romney, Barack Hussein Obama, likewise McCain. Their CV, political CV, shows a character of statesman. Compare that to Donald Trump in terms of how one person can change the narrative and the conversation. So that's all it takes. You know, you and I can be cordial, but when we have a third party who just goes off on a tangent, it makes as if our conversation is haphazard, is rude, that the platform on which we're on is shaky. It just takes one individual. But what it takes is the community within that political environment to stand up and say, this is wrong, and we support the right. So that's how I want to address that.
Thank you. Your colleagues on the table have addressed the issues for us. Elvis touches on this hardcore development issues. He compares us to the sub-region and says, hey, we shouldn't hit ourselves too much. But when he looks at it from another angle, Western Asia, there are certain challenges that we need to address. Of course, Ibrahim also, you know, very brilliantly touches on the soft issues, right? That makes us unique or uniquely Ghanaian. I want you to tackle on the economy for us. 69 years on, we've been to the IMF 17 times, right? So many times under the Fourth Republic. Has there been any economic gains? Are there anything to be proud of in terms of how we have, you know, on our own managed our economy?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you. Good morning to Mr. Daku, Mr. AJ, and our viewers. I must say that I agree largely with the submission of Mr. Daku. You see, I think as a nation, we've taken our economic growth for granted. just 2 weeks ago or last week, I was in Kigali, just because of my upcoming book launch, the promotion. I was in Kigali. Look, their airport is so small that British Airways doesn't go there. Delta doesn't go there. As a result, they are now building a new airport. Is it Bugazera Airport? It's about 15 kilometers from
Their current airport.
No, from this country. One of their neighboring country. I'll get it for you.
DRC.
No, not DRC. I'll get it for you. So the point I'm making is that, as a nation, because we are developing, we are growing, we seem not to notice it. We seem not to notice it. And if you travel across Lome, Benin, you see that Ghana, we have really come far from. And this development cut across various regimes. Under the President Kufuor era, we had this this road, the Mall Road.
The N1.
Time, yeah, at the time, they had to even broadcast this on how to use it. For weeks, people were confused. They say, we'll get missing. They had to advertise it. Yes, they had to advertise it. The Ashama Tema, initially, I schooled in Tema, Medas. Initially, we use under bridge. The cars passed under a tunnel to Tema. To Tema. But now there's a flyover. Because we've expanded as a nation, you see this N1 question touching that we're all happy about. Now you see it as small.
It's not serving the purpose anymore. So
In fact, there's an active work ongoing to expand it.
Yes.
I think Maripoma are the contractors on that.
I'm just trying to let you know how far this country have come. Some of us, most people did their degree in Lagos. At the time when you're going to school, you see how narrow the road used to be. Under Professor Moss, we expanded it. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, there are some challenges, but in terms of economic growth, trust me, we've come far as a nation.
I asked you the question on the economy, so I'll take that for an answer. But should a nation's progress be only measured on how fast or how precise it's able to build its road? What about the issues around inequality, right? Where the gap between the rich and the poor is ever so increasing, right? You come to issues around empathy. A 29-year-old is hit by a car on his motor. He has to go to 3 hospitals. All of them deny him beds. None of the doctors, none of the nurses even bothered to come out and check on him. But when we needed someone to confirm he was dead, then a medic was able to come out and do that. So, yes, you may say that, well, we've made progress in terms of infrastructure, right? And I'm sure you say your government is even promising to do a big push and all of that. Fair enough.
We'll come to all of that.
Fair enough. But on the other issues, on empathy, on inequality, can we proudly say we've made progress?
Yeah, so like Mr. AJ was pointing out to you, when you talk about development, we have both soft development and hard development. The issues about roads, infrastructure, school buildings, those are the hard development. But soft development includes what you've mentioned in terms of the economy, how people, their welfare. It also includes democratic stability. Now, on the issue of equity, that is a structural issue. And I tell people, Jude, today, if you become a minister or you become a chief executive and you have to approve recruitment, your family people will come and tell you that, look, maybe you have to help them. That's what they will tell you. And in fact, we're in a country that if you leave power, your people, without making any substantial, they don't see you to make any substantial resource, your own performance, this person is useless. So what's the expectation? No, these are the facts. They will tell you, this person got this position, then ultimately, he's useless. He couldn't do anything. So we need to change our culture, our mentality, our mindset. In foreign dispensation, some of us who had the privilege to do our masters in the US and tour the world virtually, you will see that former government officials. You go to the mall and there are some of them ride bicycles and all of that. Quite recently, Boris Johnson, video popped up on social media when he was riding a bicycle after he went to the mall and all of that, and people were surprised. They are surprised because in Ghana here, even for some persons to be in traffic with us, we've been in this country before. Yes!
They'll start blazing the siren.
Exactly.
Disturbing everybody.
Exactly. So I think that these are cultural issues and our mindsets as a nation. And I'm happy that these topics are not topics that are political. We need to look at it as a people. The direction we want to chart is very important.
Amazing. Elvis, I'm reading the Ghanaian publisher Big Front page story. Myanmar imposes travel ban after SOE defiance, right? And we heard this some time ago. I listened to some ministers, including the government communication minister and other members of parliament, also lament what they say is how they become cash trap. They go to the constituency, they have to support people. Wonder alluded to that, also briefly. I want us to look at 69 years on, a key aspect of our democracy, which is our governance, right? Our governance system, the whole governance architecture that we have in place right now. Would you say it served us well? Is it fit for purpose? Or maybe it's about time we, sit down and say, hey, we need to fix a few tweaks here?
Well, a lot of things need to change. You see, governance is to benefit the people. So if today we are sitting here, we say, with all the natural resources, I've recounted about 6 free resources God has given us. We are exploiting them, but we are still in this state of poor state of development. It means that a lot needs to change. And for me, I see the brightest light in the AFTA program. If Africa is supposed to make any progress, if Ghana is to make any meaningful progress, the solution is in AFTA. That's the only way we can reduce our poverty and become something. Because as a country like Ghana, we are too small to influence anything anywhere in the world. So we need to align. And when we align, do you know what it will happen? To bring us a lot of things that we may not be able to do on our own. But then because of alignment, we can do it. What do I mean by that? We say after means that we want to transform the continent. But all I hear our leaders from Africa saying on all global stages that we are investing foreigners to come and invest in after. If we do that, our poverty will actually increase. Because if somebody brings his or her money to come and invest, the person is taking the dividend away. So there's no way we are going to get any meaningful benefit.
For our viewers, let them know what it is.
From
African Free Trade
Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
Yeah.
This is an economic free zone. And if we have 1.2 billion people, China had 1.4 billion. That's what they actually used to develop themselves. So it's about time our leaders decide that, look, I have said that we cannot follow the Western style of development or strategy and develop. We have to follow the Asian strategy to develop. If Ghana and Ivory Coast are the largest producers of cocoa, all we need is to stop exporting the beans. Ghana and Ivory Coast should host all the cocoa manufacturing companies. Nigeria is the 5th largest producer of cocoa. Their cocoa is small. They should ship it to Ivory Coast or Ghana. So that when it comes to chocolate in the world, anything cocoa product, everybody in the world will come and buy it from Ghana or will export it from Ghana and Ivory Coast. That is where you add value to your, that's where prosperity comes from. If we look at crude oil, Nigeria is the biggest market in West Africa. So Ghana and other countries, let's all ship our small crude oil we are producing to Nigeria. Let them do all the refinery there. Let them produce the fertilizer from it and all other things that will come from it and supply the entire sub-region. So we need to look at this kind of synergies. That is where we will create the kind of prosperity. But if Ghana want to process its small crude oil and these petty things we are doing, I don't see how economic circumstances is going to change. And that is why I'm saying that if we want to prosper, look at the AFCT, the AFTA, and say, how can Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire collaborate in Sector A, Sector B, who has the comparative advantage. Let's all of us send our small to the one that has the comparative advantage and let them do the production. If Ghana and Ivory Coast have the biggest cocoa producing company, chocolate producing companies and other things, citizens of the neighboring countries can be employed and they will be working there. Same way, if Nigeria is responsible for the crude production, engineers from Ghana and other countries can be employed in those refineries to be working there. This is where we keep the value here. I want to let you know how I just been reading about the Asians, the Asian tigers, and I want to give certain themes of how they made it. One is to decide that you are doing, what they did was export-oriented industrialization. They focus on manufacturing for global markets. So whatever they are doing, they are producing in huge numbers and they are exporting to the global market. So they have to meet the standard. That is one of the strategies they actually used. Investment in education and human capital. Because it's the human beings who will do the job. Today, all of us are saying the world is moving to digitalization. There's no single secondary school that teaches only digitalization in Ghana. I have said that every region must have one secondary school that teaches digitalization. So the Gen Zs that are so interested in this online
but
and
there's
digital,
1 million coders.
Excuse me, I don't want to comment on that. Let me just make my point. So that people go to these schools, and these young ones who have interest in gadgets, okay, they go to those schools and learn proper digitization.
Yeah.
And we should begin also to look at some of the new universities we want to establish. We will need to be looking at some of them focusing purely on tech and tech. Because that is where the world is moving to. Look, if you look at the top 10 most valuable companies in the world today, it's no longer oil and gas or mining.
It's tech.
It is tech. So if we want to make that progress, where is the strategy for tech? And if we are going for the strategy for tech, where is the human resource to build the tech, to do the tech? So education in terms of human resource.
Yeah, but
this is what
if you say that, and you discount this government's approach in that regard, and I don't think you are being fair to them, because
this is the nonsense we live in. That's why we have been struggling. If a government wants to run a policy and somebody thinks that it can be done better, it's not discounting. Okay, how many weeks are they going to learn the coding? How many weeks? We are now being told that they imported only 20,000 laptops and the rest is going to be online. So if I'm at my home and don't have a laptop, you say I should learn coding. How am I going to learn the coding online? Me, I'm sitting in my village. I'm supposed to learn the coding. I've been registered for the coding. I don't have a laptop. And they say you are doing teaching coding online. So as in my village, as a young person who wants to learn coding, who doesn't have a laptop, and you are teaching coding online, how do I learn it? So we should stop this kind of political things we are doing. That's why we are not going anywhere. Let's face it. Patrick Ewa has come to establish a very great school in Ghana here, and the products are being employed all over the world. Why can't we put Patrick Ewa say, look, Patrick Ewa, come here. We want you to help Ghana to develop our tech strategy. You have proven that you can do it in the area of education. Let's put other entrepreneurs and add them to particular and others who are doing tech education. Develop Ghana's strategy for tech for the next 50 years. Why can't we do it instead of somebody come up and say, we are doing 1 million coding? You ask the coding, if the person learned coding, how many is going to, what would the person be able to learn within the period? How is that person going to be employable based on what he's learning? We don't have answers to that.
One that responds to that.
No, let me finish.
I have a question for you on your after.
I'm giving you the Asian strategy. Let me finish. Okay. So after that, they also built world-class infrastructure. Look at the strategy. World-class infrastructure. That is what will support the industrialization for global market work. And the human resource. Stable macroeconomic policies that is influenced by productivity, not artificial shoring up of your currency. There was a direct government support. So government carried money, look at private people who have brilliant ideas, put a team of experts together and say this industry must grow. So if you see Huawei, if you see Samsung, if you see all those big companies from the Asians, it wasn't just a private person single effort. It was a direct support from government to them.
The collective.
That they put together and say the private person had the idea. Government is adding some finances and all the support the person needs. Because they build a global company, it's the economy that benefits. So government gave direct support to companies in Asia. That is why today we are all buying everything from Asia, because their government realized that they have the role to play by giving direct
deliberate.
support. Deliberate.
Elvis, 30 seconds on this. You talk about forming global alliances. You mentioned after, and all of it's intended, good. But the question is, can all of that be realized when in-house you've not solved some of your pressing needs?
Like what?
There's Galamsey. We know the challenges Galamsey has to our economy. So much that's affecting cocoa. So
why is Galamsey going on? It's because a lot of young people have no jobs. Okay? So if you have Ghana hosting a gold jewelry market, that instead of us who produce the gold, sitting on a plane to go to Dubai, who doesn't have gold in their land to go and buy jewelries, it is the world that is trooping to Ghana. Because it is Ghana that has the gold jewelry market. Do you know how many young people will be employed in that industry who will be doing all the jewelries? If people have jobs that give them good salary, what are they going to do in the bush? Okay? If we have all the cocoa processing companies in Ghana and they are processing all our cocoa beans, producing all kinds of cocoa products, and these things are high demand everywhere in the world, and they are being paid good salary, what are they going to do in the bush? Sometimes we think that, that's what I'm saying, if we think that we can solve our problems small, we can't. So if we do the alliances, if Ghana doesn't have the money, Angola say we have the money, we will put the money into that business. Okay, but because Ghana has the competitive advantage, we don't want the money to go outside the continent. So Angolan government say I'm giving this, or the Nigerian government say I'm giving this, the Cameroonian government say I'm supporting this. If South Africa, Egypt, and Morocco are the best in car making, if we are able to do our integrated aluminium industry, and we produce all the aluminium sheets and the rest from here, we export to South Africa, Morocco, and the rest to produce the cars. So the ability for Africa to be rich is very huge. It's just that
there's potential.
Our leaders have failed to look at the fact that it will take synergies
to do that.
It will take synergies to do that, because individual countries can't. Right now we say we need $600 million to transform VACO into what it's supposed to be. Government of Ghana says it can't find $600 million. Are you telling me that there are no other governments on the continent who can find $600 million to make VACO?
Your point has been won.
So if we go to the car manufacturing company in South Africa and says, all the aluminium and parts you do to do your cars that you are doing, VACO will produce it for us. So come and invest the $600 million for us to transform VACO, so you will be a shareholder in VACO. So that we have the integrated aluminium industry, so that when we produce everything from VACO, it's no longer going to Europe.
So we need to find a synergy.
But then it's going to the car manufacturing company in South Africa or in Morocco or in Egypt, and it's their $600 million that has transformed VACO. It's the prosperity from that business remain on the continent. It doesn't go outside the continent.
Wonder, you are in government.
So let's stop this mindset we can't make it.
Obviously, your point has been well made, and I think you've drowned home the point, hit the nail right on its head. So thank you for that. You are in government. Elvis makes the point that over time, and as we see now happen, your policies have not been transformative enough. I mentioned the 1 million coders as something that could have propelled us in terms of our digital, aspirations as a country. But he's saying, hey, they're even at home. They are doing virtual classes, right? I missed many other, but I don't know where you want to take it from. Maybe tackle that one as well, and maybe some other interventions your government has put in place for our economic transformation.
Yeah, so like I was stating earlier, Ghana, we've made some progress, but that is not to say there are not challenges. There are challenges. In fact, one of the key challenges that have faced this country under the Fourth Republic is youth unemployment. And I must say that the National Youth Employment Program, which was started under President Kufuor, was a response to a national security report that there is a possible upcoming uprising by the youth. So quickly they had to get something in place to give people a job. And at the time, they were paid tabletop. That was how the NYEP started. Professor Mose moved it to JIDA, and then later it was given the Parliamentary Backing Act 887, and it became the Youth Employment Agency. So over time, both governments have tried to solve the issues of unemployment. As to whether it's off completely, that I cannot assure or say that unemployment is moved out completely. But we've seen progress. Now, another thing that we should look at is government not fulfilling its promises. The previous government, for example, said 1 district, 1 factory. Some of us were very happy when they said 1 district, 1 factory. We further look, it's a way to industrialize this nation. 1 village, 1 dam. But all these promises has not been honored. So if you see President Mahama honoring his promises, then it tells you that this is how policy should be done about fulfilling your mandate, your promises. In respect of this youth unemployment that I told you, we had promised the Ejumara program under the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program. It's been delivered. Over 34.5 million Ghana cedi was put into this program last year, and it's translated into this year. The National Apprentice Program, over 21 million Ghana cedi has been paid. So in spite of people's perception that this government is not spending, we are actually spending, but we are spending wisely.
The Women's Development Bank.
Yeah, so I'll come to that. Before you put up a bank, you have to make sure that the current bank is strong. You know, the previous government went into the business of collapsing banks. You understand? We had invested in such a way that the National Investment Bank, we are pumping some money so that it's become very strong, so that it's not collapsed. And the previous regime, some staff of the National Investment Bank were given offers to pick the money and leave the bank, because they thought that there was no way they could revive it. But as soon as we came into power, we had pumped some money into the National Investment Bank to make it solid, to pave way for the National Women's Bank. And many more. The no stress-free policy, as promised, has been delivered. You understand? So, by and large, we need a political party, a government that will honor its promises. That's what is key. You talk about the 1 million coders program. I mean, the government is still in session. If he admits that, some laptops have been promised or have been delivered and not all, it means that there's more room for improvement. No two ways about it. But that is how government is run. It's not a one-stop shop. It's a process. And for me, one thing that is even refreshing about this government, we've gone over a year without a single scandal. And this is the first time that under a fourth Republican government in this country, for over a year in government, there's no scandal. And that tells you the integrity of this government. And we are committed. We are committed to not just ensuring economic stability, but also to ensure equity among the citizenry.
Right. Wanda makes the point, right? Over time, successive governments failed promises as part of the challenges we are seeing here. Sites, one district, one factory. What are your responses very briefly before we move
Not
to
very briefly. I need to be direct.
We have to move to the second conversation.
Sure, but it's important. That one, I can't let him throw that comment away, not dissect it. 321 1D, 1F projects were initiated. Operationally now, 170, employing 24,000 direct jobs, and then in the value chain, transportation, factory hands, distribution, over 124,000. These are the figures. These are in government. You can go and check. And you say that is unfulfilled? Prior to 2017, when NPP came to power, how many factories do we have? He's talking about NPP collapsing banks. Banks that under their watch were not even stable. We saw what happened with the Capital One, First Capital.
Capital Bank. What happened? You had banks or their executives lending to each other, creating false accounts. I have a bank, you have a bank. So I borrow from you, you borrow from me. And then we put it on the books as profit. It was a mayhem under NDC. The banks were collapsing. We rather save the banks, put into consolidated bank group, CBG. Over 98% of depositors had their money given back to them. They didn't lose. Who rather undermined and dismantled the infrastructure, I'm talking industries, that Kwame Nkrumah bequeathed us. Black Star Line, Amehon. Ghana Films, which is now TV3, they sold it. The Ghana Rubber Plantation. And I can go on and on and on. That was under the Divestiture Implementation Committee, PNDC stroke NDC. They sold everything. They just hollowed out Ghana's, we're talking about why is it that we've come this far. And I mentioned to you, I'm an optimist. Ghana has done so well, and I refer to you to how the coup d'etats have taken us back decades. Did I not do so, Jude? Yeah.
Who was the main proponent of that, of the coup d'etats? Let's remove Kotoka and Co. Under Chairman Rawlings then, the hollowing out of our industry If you had 5 cities in the bank, they said you were corrupt. Under the AFRC days, you NDC, you decimated Ghana's economy. If today we're not where the South Koreas, the Malaysians, and Thailand and Philippines are, we can square it back to NDCP and NDC. They removed everything. That Kwame Nkrumah, I'm not trying to say that this is UP or MPP. I'm giving the flowers to Kwame Nkrumah. He created that industrial edifice that we've all built upon. And so what did President Akufo-Addo do? He came and then increased that infrastructural industrial revolution. 170, I wonder, you should listen to the figures. As I'm talking, Google. 321 were initiated at mobilization. Operationally now, 170, covering 142 districts. Is it not I know we'll get on the 24-hour economy, Jude. Right now, they are saying they want to do 24-hour economy, and they're looking at the client base, which is the 1D, 1F, that President Akufo-Addo, MPP, brought into fruition.
How about the Agenda 111 hospitals?
Good.
How many did you complete?
The Agenda 111, what I understood was that around 80-something. I've got to double check.
Completed.
Completed.
I'm coming.
If I'm mistaken, then correct me. If I'm mistaken, correct me. I mean, I'm here to
86
be corrected.
completed.
Good.
No.
And I'm saying that it can't be.
So how many was completed?
We heard the Deputy Health Minister on the floor of Parliament say, as of the time the NDC assumed office,
2020.
none had been completed.
0. Okay, I'm coming.
3 had been completed.
3 had been completed.
Only that they were
but
not
at what level? You know,
Four.
Yeah, they
Jude.
broke
Out
Okay.
of 111.
I'm coming.
That's
I'm
their
coming.
record.
You know, you have a completion rate whereby you say something is 80%, 90%. I'm drawing my figures from there. You cannot tell me that everything is at foundation level. It is not. And so we have to be fair to the facts on the ground. You can build something whereby you got to the lintel level and they'll tell you that 80% of the project is completed. But as I said, I'm here to be corrected. I mentioned to you that we started 321.
I'm getting the data on the Agenda 111 hospitals.
Very good.
And I'll share with
Good.
you.
I mentioned that we started 321 of the 1D, 1F, of which 170 are operational. 24,621 people, Ghanaians, directly employed, and the value chain is 124,000. Now, coming onto the issue of the 24-hour economy that you wanted to pivot into, and I'm explaining that I had to give Wonder a comprehensive understanding. You have today the base or the clientele that the NDC are looking to co-opt into this 24-hour economy are the 1D, 1F. Because all the industries that we had, that Kwame Nkrumah started, they spoiled it all. They hollowed out industry, sold it for tuppence, and they know what happened under DIC, the Divestiture Implementation Committee.
Yeah.
The corruption under NDC those days, PNDC, NDC, is just mind-boggling. That you had a whole Black Star line, a shipping company, sold for and the main person who bought it was the owner now of Arsenal Football Club. He is the principal shareholder of what was then, they bought it, of Black Star Line. But let me continue in terms of what I wanted to say. That and Elvis is bang on the money, why are we not where the Thailand and co are? If you have everything that can help you industrialize, removed from you, how can you succeed? It was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago when President Mahama went to the B5 Steel Company, talking about how now they're going to initiate, and I mentioned this last time we spoke, dude. They're going to initiate phase 2 of the steel factory. Where was phase 1?
Completed and he went to commission it.
Yes.
No initiation.
Yeah, the phase 2.
Went to commission
Yes.
phase 2.
But where was phase 1? Under President Akufo-Addo. I'm just giving you an example that everything you're looking now on the 24-hour, your client base is what we
Ibrahim, thank you very much. Your point has been well made.
Thank you.
Just by way of information, The facts, as we have it, widely reported in the media and also released in the circular by the Ministry of Health, the NPP completed 3 hospitals under Agenda 111. This was from the former Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, and this was published on the 4th of March 2025. And this is his quote: "True State of the Nation Accra mentioned that the project dedicated a funding source of 1.3 billion to complete all the remaining ones, but he disclosed that 3 had been completed." The ministry, in a circular that same day, set the record straight. Again, it said the previous government spent 400 million on Agenda 111. Out of the 111 district hospitals committed to construction, none is currently operational. It goes on to say the estimated cost. They also talk about Trade, which was the first one that you launched. So it goes on.
So the ministry was smart. It says operational. If that is not operational, that means it's not completed.
Good. That's what I wanted.
When they say hospital is operationalized, it means that it's been completed, machines put in it, tested, now we go commissioning, and they become operational. So the argument the ministry made there, they avoided the fact that 3 has been completed. But they focus on the fact that even if it is complete, because it is not operational,
but it was because Ibrahim said 86.
Because President actually commissioned the trader before he left office.
Thank you very much for laying out the facts of the matter. We'll go on a quick break. When we are back, there's a lot more right here on Breakfast Daily. Don't go away. Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. My name is Jude Duncan. Just gone by a conversation on our 69 years of nationhood. The progress, the promise, missed opportunities. My guest delved into the issues for us. We now go all the way to the Middle East, where tensions are escalating. As we know now, Iran have announced a new supreme leader in the person of the son of the late Khamenei, Mojtaba Khamenei, 56-year-old, hardline. A lot of analysts have said, of course, the U.S. themselves to have been reeling up the impact of this war. 7 of their soldiers have been, declared that they died in some missiles hits at their Kuwait base, and so many other fallouts from this particular war. As we also know it, the Strait of Hormuz has been, technically closed. Its effects really on economies really dire. Ghana hasn't been left out of all of this ongoing issues. We've been caught in the crossfire all the way in Lebanon, where 4 of our soldiers have been hit. My guests to be sharing their thoughts on this particular issue for us. But your comments have been coming through on issues we're discussing. Good morning, Jude. Elvis has to retract the comment about the standard of living being more expensive in Abidjan than in Accra. It's very false, you say. I've lived in Abidjan for 8 months, and the general price of goods and services are way cheaper. The price of transportation in the country is also far cheaper than in Ghana. In terms of general development, we have expanded to more rural areas than they have, but their economy is more stable than Ghana. I think the last part of what you say, Elvis made that point. Good morning, Jude. The simple answer to the progress of Ghana being delayed is corruption. When we talk about Malaysia, Singapore, etc., these countries deal with corruption seriously, and we have some death penalty for corruption. We have to deal with this menace head on and take this bull by the horn. Great conversation. The fact is, our leaders have failed us, and they don't seem to understand the issues at hand. We need decisive and new vision for Ghana. We can't continue on the same trajectory. I agree with Elvis. Our leaders ought to do better for us and by us, because we give them so much, but we get so much little in return. And clearly, we can't keep going on this tangent. Ibrahim makes the point about sharing, you say. Ibrahim makes the point about how we have to be tolerant for each other. I'm so grateful that I am in this country where we have respect for one another, irrespective of religious belief. May Ghana live long, you say. And this is coming in from Set AJ. Interesting messages, keep them coming. I'll be glad to read all of your thoughts on this particular issue. But we'll go to the Middle East now. And I'll start off with you, Elvis. And general thoughts, 4 of our soldiers. The Deputy Defense Minister, Bojaji Mfi, was on ChannelOne over the weekend. He gave us an update. And, of course, the minority have been quick to remind us of the fact that we don't have a substantive defense minister. Is there any linkages at all?
I don't think how a substantive defense minister could have prevented what is happening in the Middle East. It can't happen. So for me, that is, if it's in relation to what happened in the Middle East to our soldiers, I don't see the relationship. It's a war, and then all people get killed, people get injured. And the war we are talking about is not the one we have in our tribal court. This is a huge war, and the weapons being thrown around are really huge. So casualties will always happen in war. It's unfortunate that we are not part of it, but it's happening. In Iran, we see kindergarten children. What have they got to do with the war?
Girls.
Yeah, what have they got to do with the war? What decision did they were killed? So there's, as we call it, always the spoils of war will always be there. There will always be casualties, and it's unfortunate that it happens to our soldiers. We thank God that none of them is dead. We pray that the injury they actually secured will not be life-threatening ones. It will not turn them into persons of disability. At least they can return to good health and live their lives. For me, that's my prayer. Also, now we don't really know the details of the damage caused them, but I pray that they all recover fully, because that's what we should. The one in the Middle East, I've always said it, I say, you can never be a superpower in the world if you don't go into conquest. All empires that have governed the world through conquest. And therefore, a superpower will always go to war, whether the reason is justified or not. It is established that authority that when you talk about the world today, we are the people who are in control. So if you look at the Roman Empire, all the empires that have governed this world, they all conquered many nations to remain who they are. So that is what America is doing, because today they are the superpower of the world, and therefore they have to establish that authority. They have to put that fear in everybody that you don't joke with America, we'll deal with you. So that is what they are doing. Whether the reason is justified or not, a superpower doesn't, they don't care. If they have to establish that authority, they will do it no matter the cost. So that is what America is doing. They just want to put fear in everybody in the world that if we are talking about who is the superpower of the world today, America remain a superpower. And that is what they are doing. So it's a matter of their interest against the interest of the rest of the world. Because for them, that is what is their interest. And most of the time we complain when people are fighting for their interest instead of fighting for our own interest. The point is, if somebody has his interest and decide that this is what is my interest, your complaint and to be won't stop the person from fighting for his or her interest. So sometimes when I hear us complain more, I say, no, we should rather be strategizing and say, how do we protect our interest? Because if we are all we can do is to complain, then we are doing nothing. Because the person has an interest to protect. And the person will do anything to protect that interest. It doesn't matter your complaint. So this idea that people talk about international, so international law was not written to protect you, the poor. It's written to protect the rich and powerful. Those who wrote international law are not Ghanaians, they are not Egyptians, they are Westerners. Those who established the United Nations are not Ghanaians, okay? The United Nations there is completely controlled by America and few countries. So you can be part of the UN and say, we pass resolution A, B, C, D. America can override that resolution, nothing will happen. Because they are the ones who control the institution. If America had just withdrawn support for WHO, WHO is now crying that they don't have resources to work, because their major contributor is the United States of America. And the moment they withdrew their support, the WHO said, now we are struggling for funding to be able to do our job. So they are fighting for their interests, and you are sitting in Ghana, you are complaining. Then we are complaining because we know the impact will hit us. Oil had just crossed over $100 a barrel. This is just this morning. So it means that the next pricing window, he may be buying petrol about 14 cedis, 15 cedis at the pump, because we are in a fully deregulated market. So whilst people are fighting in the Middle East and they are blocking transportation of crude, and therefore we have supply chain disruptions, there are fears that there will be shortage of oil, and therefore, obviously, and some of the countries that are even in the Middle East have been, their oil facilities have been hit, so they have reduce their production. So obviously demand for oil will go high, and once there's higher demand, there will always be a price increase. So our pain is that once we sit here, we didn't go and start any fight, we will now be feeling the pain of the war that is in the Middle East, and we now be paying more for fuel when we have no. So we didn't cause the war.
We need to find our solutions to the war.
So my suggestion is that government should take the lead. Every private company in Ghana. We don't know when this war is going to end. So if we can ask those who will not be needed in the office to stay home and work from home, so that our consumption of fuel will reduce, so that the quantity we need to use, we can manage it to help. Those of us who have cars, if we live in the same area, we go to work around the same area, we should begin to do carpooling, so that many people will park their cars, and few people, today if you go with Wonder's car, if we are in the same area, tomorrow we go for Ibrahim, therefore we go with mine, so that we can help the country reduce fuel consumption, so that the little that we are told about 5 weeks of reserve, so that we can It can last more than 5 weeks if we manage it this way. Because we don't know what will happen.
Wonder, we have a situation at hand. Many analysts have said that there are issues that need to be resolved. We recently witnessed the Burkina Faso incident. 8 of our patriots died, in line of their work. Of course, other issues now, 4 of our soldiers. What do you have to say to critics who say the lack of a substantive minister and the lack of maybe strategic, vision from that minister is worrying going into a very, very serious time as this war even rages on?
Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. I must say that when we were very young, anytime you hear that somebody is going for peacekeeping, people be crying. It's like the person who no longer return. Yes, that was the mindset when we were very young. Then growing up, we realized that people were actually lobbying to now go for peacekeeping. When they go, they come back with lots of money in the system. You see that their lifestyle changes as compared to their colleagues in the services. But with recent happening, I'm sure we'll be taken back to the initial. when you tell people to go for peacekeeping now, they'll be scared, and it's quite unfortunate. Of course, you like you rightly said. I mean, Mr. Dako rightly said, this war is not caused by Ghana, but we are faced we are going to face the impact of it. I mean, that's how wars turn out. It's quite unfortunate. We talk about the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, where most of the world crude channels through.
21% of global crude.
Now, with this closure of this narrow channel, it's going to definitely affect oil prices in Ghana. Now, my worry is the reserve we have. We say 5 weeks of reserve. It is certainly not enough, to be honest. And this is across all political parties. We need to agree as a nation that we need reserves. Some countries have 1 year reserves.
The NPA say they are exploring other alternatives.
Of course, the NPA made this submission based on what they inherited and their efforts to make sure things work out. But as a nation, we need to agree that we need more than 5 weeks of reserve as a nation. Some countries have about 1 year reserves.
Years, not 1 year. Years and years.
We have just 5 weeks of reserve. We think that we have reserves. 5 weeks.
When clearly all indication point to the fact that the war might still go on for some time.
Exactly. And my major worry is that, you see, if you look at, quite recently, we saw filling stations giving out wache, porridge, to encourage people because the prices of fuel
is coming now.
Now, I think that all these successes is hint to stable condition in other countries. With this war now, all these gains will be lost.
But your government also accused the previous government of blaming all of the economic hardship on the Russia-Ukraine war. So are you now praising us for...
Let me give you the context. You see, for example, COVID. Even after COVID, the previous government was charging COVID-19 levy. It took the NDC to take it off. That's what we're talking about. If we had MPP in power now, by now we have Iran levy.
It's okay. Thank you.
No, dude, no. I'm saying like by now we have, like by now Parliament, then they normally go under certificate of agency. But like by now we have Iran levy.
Thank you very much.
We never had Russian.
Ibrahim, last week on the show, you gave me a really brilliant, history to the war. And from all we know now, following international media, the war is going to go on for some time. 4 of our soldiers have been caught in the crossfire. What should be the approach, right? What should the government start focusing on?
I think what the government needs to do is to be strongly critical of Israel. Let me explain why I'm saying so, Jude. The Ghanaian base, of course, the Italians and Irish are also on that base. It's at Al-Qawza. Now, Al-Qawza is at the kinetic line. It's on the front line where Hezbollah and Israeli forces are exchanging fire. So they're on the front line. It's 3 kilometers away. Is Israel trying to tell us, with their precision military armaments, they cannot see the UN basis, which is painted in blue, UN, clearly, it's not 20,000 kilometers away where the Exocet missile can miss its mark because of navigational errors. Israel are using precision military weaponry. This, to all intents and purposes, was deliberate. Why am I saying so? I'm not saying that Hezbollah are not firing across, because Hezbollah are in the wooded area adjacent to where the battalions are, or Ganbats. Their job is to preserve the peace, so that you can't be at the back, you need to be inside. But Israel knows where the base is. Irish and Italians are also at the same Al-Qusar base for UNIFIL.
In Lebanon.
In Lebanon. You cannot tell me, with all your precision, that this was an accident. You cannot. Clearly marked UN. Now let's look at some of the precedents. In December 2025, we, what did we do? Because of the treatment that our members of parliament received, Ghanaian members of parliament and other members of a delegation at Ben Gurion Airport, treated our official delegation very badly, we then deported 3 Israelis in protest. Again, Israel doesn't like the fact that Ghana's government has supported vocally and also given 40 tons of products to the Gazans who are being massacred and genocided by Israel during that time. You think that Israel has not thought of this?
You can't speculate.
You can't speculate, but I can. Because yet they have given you a track record. When ambulance, again, this is from the International Red Cross, carrying ambulance, they targeted ambulance. They've killed people at whim. I'm talking the Israeli Defense Forces. So Ghana shouldn't somehow think...
What should be the focus of the Foreign Affairs
I
Minister?
just told you. I said in my opening communication, we have to be very critical of Israel. The moment you give a bully any kind of comfort in your talk, 1, they disrespect you, 2, they'll continue the same thing. And Israel is a bully. Because look at all the other countries that it has attacked. Every country within there. We remember, I was watching Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu from the 1990s. Iraq is 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. Once you remove out Iraq and then Libya and then Iran, he said it. We've all witnessed it. We're all consumers of the politics in this area. Bibi Netanyahu, the Polish guy, Ashkenazi Jew, he's not even Semitic. Do you know who's Semitic? Those who are coming from the Prophet Shem, son of Noah, the Palestinians. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a Semite, given his genealogy. I'm just trying to, so those who say this, I hate that when you criticize Israel and they pivot towards anti-Semitism. It is so far off the mark. So I'm giving you an answer to what you said earlier. What should we do?
Be critical of the regime.
Be critical and stand our ground.
How should government be minded about the interest of our soldiers who are the war front, are the front line to an extent in this ongoing war?
I think what we need to do immediately is to withdraw our forces immediately.
Amazing.
That's what we need to do.
Thank you so much.
And I can come back to what you said earlier regarding the 111 hospitals. Remember,
we'll have that conversation very briefly, maybe 30 seconds each before we go. But just by way of information, and our very good friend on the show, Wanda Victor Kuto Esquire, this Friday we'll be launching this really impressive book, your one-stop shop for everything immigration. The title of the book is The Immigration Formula, the Rules, the Packaging and Strategy. And the foreword is by Professor Larry A. Di Matteo and His Lordship Justice John Kulendi. And it's an interesting read for academic purposes, for general knowledge acquisition. And we'll be there to support him at the Shippers Authority
4 p.m.
4 p.m. this Friday. And so congratulations, Wanda, on this. Our final conversation for the day, 29-year-old Charles Emisa on the 6th of February was hit in a hit and run incident. A committee has been set up to look out at the issues. Ibrahim, very briefly.
Sure. And I'll pivot very briefly onto it. Initially, I mentioned that there are, in my mind, around 86 have been completed of Agenda 111. The figures I'm giving you are now from the Ministry of Health. Of the Agenda 111, 28 of the sites have now been completed at roofing, and roofing has been completed. 28. Then you have 37, the superstructure is completed, awaiting roofing, and then I put firmament. And then lastly, 36 of those sites at lintel level, totaling 91. This is Ministry of Health. Yes, 3 are now operational. I thank Elvis for making that distinction. But of those completed at roofing level, 28. 37 superstructure completed, awaiting roofing, and then 36 at lintel.
Charles Emisa Committee.
Charles Emisa. This pivots into that directly. The fact that you had to go to 3 hospitals, the major ones, Kolebu, Ridge, 37. And the fact that they were turned away, it speaks something about what is wrong in terms of our medical attention. Accident and emergency, the clue is in the name, an accident and an emergency. And I don't believe that any hospital should drive away any particular person. I understand that it's easy to say, but how do you do it? How do you digitize so you make sure that the no bed syndrome, at any point, the ambulances can know which hospital has a bed free. In the absence of a hospital, treat them at the outpatients. That's something that is a failure of these 3 hospitals.
I always have the final word. Wonder, you have 20 seconds.
Yeah, so just, the context in which we discussed this Agenda 111 has to do with failed promises. When they made the promise of 111, they said they were going to complete it within a year. So if we are now saying that 20 is at the roofing level, I mean, somebody we are coming to talk about.
But our government is also being accused of being disingenuous in the language used when you say not operational, when the structure is there, equipment is in there. In fact, even UGMC, you have to take private protests to get, that was to operationalize.
If you have if you promise 100, that's the context. We said,
but that was your government.
Yes. So if the NPP promised 101 hospitals, then today we are saying that 28 is now at roofing level. If somebody is sick right now, like this we are talking about, can they take the person to the hospital because at the roofing level?
Elvis,
no,
you have the final word.
The
committee has invited for public, comments and experience sharing. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it was unfortunate that somebody died in that manner. However, the directive issued by the Ministry of Health shows that there was some deficit in the standard operating procedures of the hospitals. Because for somebody to die, public outcry, before you are now saying that anybody with emergency, that is right, they must give the person first aid before. If it tells me that that was not part of the standard operating procedures. So it meant that probably with that statement to me, it means that you may not even be able to blame the people for what they did. It means that until this directive, they were not under any obligation to give anybody first aid before referring the person, which I see as an anomaly. I think that if somebody is rushed, as we said, it's an emergency. So if the person is brought, no matter what the circumstance, something should be done to at least keep the person alive before even you think that
at least look at him.
At least. And this one, all of them just were rejected. And that's why I'm saying that the most fundamental is the statement issued by the Ghana Health Service that from now on, if anybody is brought as emergency, at least attend to the person and give some first aid before referral. It tells me that that was not part of their SOPs before this incident happened, which I think was a big anomaly.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the show today. And a reminder, this Friday we'll be supporting our brother Wonder Victor Kuto at the Shippers Authority to launch the book, The Immigration Formula, Rules, Packaging and Strategy. Thank you too to our lovely viewers out there for being a part of the show. My name is Jude Duncan. Catch you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.